I think that this is the best showing of my work thus far, because it's certainly the biggest, and it has pretty much all of the major pieces that I've made over the last sort of decade or so in it. And it covers all the themes that I work on. It's an awful lot of work. I think anybody that comes to this show, the one thing they'll say is, God, this must have taken a long time. This is a lot of this man's life that's sitting around here, I think the major themes of my work probably are, would be class and, the relationship of me as a working class person to the art world, and high culture and low culture. I would say sexuality, identity, this sort of religion. So I cover some pretty sort of big subjects, but they're all in a way through the kind of artifacts that I like to do. So if I'm dealing with religion, I love a shrine. I'm interested in pilgrimage. I've done a few pilgrimages in my life, and I've been to quite a few sort of sites of pilgrimage and things like that. Or, as a transvestite, I'm interested in gender from that point of view, but I've done quite a few works about masculinity. And I've also done a lot of therapy. So I actually think the major influence, or the kind of umbrella, if you like, that's shaped my thinking about the world has been psychotherapy. And that piece over there, Map of an Englishman, that was a piece I did towards the end of my course. I did about 6 years therapy. And that was sort of like me laying out a map of my mind. So, but this is what, because therapy is very much about self-awareness, and what I try to do is that if I notice something about the world, I try to kind of make an artwork about it so that other people can share my curiosity and revelations about the world, really. That's what I try to do. And I try to make it in a way that's very accessible and decorative and pleasurable to look at. And so that the forms I use, they're very familiar. They're pots, they're figurines, they're maps, they're tapestries. They're categories of object that anybody who ever goes to a museum would have seen many times. And so they're not sitting here puzzling what things are. They're trying to, they're going to look at it to enjoy it for its visual appeal and for the subjects that it's about. And so I think you just get on with it. You're not troubled like, oh my God, is this art? Oh, I don't think there's any, on the whole, people just come in here and enjoy it. I want people to just revel in the visual spectacle of it. Decorativeness is often used to be an insult. When I was learning to be an artist at art college, to be decorative and was a derogatory thing. It kind of said your work was kind of frilly, feminine, and not serious man ideas, And I suppose I reacted against that, and I've always made very covetable and decorative objects. I think to make a decorative object is a noble aim. It's harder than you think. I'm a big fan of clarity, so people can understand and see. Obviously there has to be a poetry in the work. You don't just want to plonk the ideas in front of the person with no kind of art involved. There has to be a poetry in the way the ideas work with the techniques and the images, but I try to be pretty straightforward. This is about this, this is about someone becoming a Muslim, or this is about shopping, this is about history. My wife did point out to me, because I was having a slight sort of existential crisis, said, God, there's so much of my life on that one floor of that one building on the other side of the world, and that's quite galling. And then my wife said, you are not just your work. But it is, I do, as many men do, I do define myself by my work. And, so when I walk around this show, it's sort of like there's an element of me going, my God, I've done all this work, and there's also sort of like, oh, it's all in this one place. And I have to separate myself from, it's a big achievement, and I'm very proud of it, but there's also sort of like, it's quite unsettling, sort of philosophically, to see yourself laid out like a museum.